Hello and welcome to World News on TVP World. I'm Marie Cato. The United States has resumed intelligence sharing and military support for Ukraine. This is a direct result of the ceasefire deal negotiated yesterday in Jeddah between Ukraine and the United States. The ball for any truce now is in Russia's court. On his way back from Jeddah, where the US-Ukraine negotiations were held, the Ukrainian foreign minister met with his Polish counterpart in Warsaw. Ukraine has accepted the US proposal for a 30-day ceasefire, and military aid deliveries through the Rzeszów hub in Poland have resumed. Ovidiusz Nicheja attended the joint press briefing.
Warsaw was the Ukrainian foreign minister's first stop following the talks in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, which are seen as a breakthrough in the Ukrainian-American relations. There, Ukraine has agreed to a temporary 30-day ceasefire, and in turn, Washington has agreed to restore military support for Kyiv, but also sharing intelligence with the Ukrainians. Here in Warsaw, the chief diplomats of Poland and Ukraine had a brief meeting, and following that, they had a press conference during which Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski said that Poland welcomes the breakthrough and the negotiations in Jeddah. He has also highlighted that Poland maintains constant contact with both the Americans and Ukrainians, as Poland is Ukraine's next door neighbor, and it's very important for Warsaw what happens there in Ukraine.
We spoke ahead of the meeting in Saudi Arabia. I had a call with General Kellogg. The minister returning from Saudi Arabia to Kyiv briefed me about the talks, and I think we're satisfied with the new proposals and new ideas for ending the Russian invasion of Ukraine. I am very glad to be meeting you as the first foreign minister in the EU on my way home and tell you all about the almost historic results that we have been able to achieve. Ukraine has accepted the US proposal to hold a temporary 30-day ceasefire. Now Washington will reach to Russia. Here I want to emphasize again that Ukraine wants this war to end with a just and enduring peace. I would like to thank Poland and its people for the support and help that we have been receiving. Another key result of yesterday's talks is the resumption of arms deliveries through Rzeszów, which remains the biggest logistics hub for weapons heading to Ukraine. I confirm that arms deliveries through Jasionka have returned to previous levels. I understand that Starlinks are working as well. Yes, and we are thankful for covering the service fees. To date, Poland has spent almost $200 million making sure our military can use it. Now we're waiting for Russian position, with Washington again handling the talks. We are ready on our side to stand up a team that will work on a roadmap for a ceasefire, if it comes to pass, of course.
Overnight, the Russian army launched a series of attacks against the Ukrainian Donetsk region, killing at least 4 people and wounding 5. According to the regional governor, Russian forces used drones, artillery and bombs to carry out attacks on Moloharska, Pokrovsk and Rodzynska.
Among the casualties of the attack are 2 teenagers aged 11 and 13. Moreover, 2 women in their 50s died of severe injuries from the attack. Responding to the strikes, the governor of the Donetsk region, Vadim Filashkin, appealed to civilians to evacuate their homes. At the same time, Filashkin turned to parents and said that if they don't want to evacuate, they should at least send their children to a safe place. Over the past 3 years, Russian forces have regularly targeted villages and cities in the Donetsk region, often resulting in civilian casualties.
Russia continues to put pressure on the negotiating Ukrainian team, refusing to de-escalate during the talks. For reactions from Kyiv, we go live to our correspondent, Oz Chatterjee. Hello, Oz. What is the mood like following yesterday's negotiations and last night's Russian attacks?
Well, look, the Ukrainians are going to be pleased about the most that they're going to be pleased about is the resumption of intelligence sharing and military aid. As for the ceasefire, look, Donald Trump said it himself, it takes 2 to tango. So Ukrainians are going to be welcoming this news cautiously because they know that there are 2 parties to this conflict and Russia is the invading party. So no ceasefire can take place unless Russia agrees to one. And so far, that has not been forthcoming. In fact, Russia has been striking Ukraine and continuing combat operations in the Kursk region. 14 people killed, 33 people injured over the last 24 hours, and Ukrainian units are said to be withdrawing from Sudzha in Kursk region after a Russian offensive over several weeks. has forced them into a withdrawal. President Zelensky has just given a live press conference in which he says our troops in the Kursk region continue to carry out their mission while Russia applies pressure. No confirmation of that withdrawal there, but TVP World does understand that at least a partial withdrawal in Kursk has taken place over the last 24 hours to avoid encirclement by Russian troops. President Zelensky also made some further comments about the ceasefire proposal, saying that security guarantees will be discussed with the United States once the ceasefire is in effect. Now, this is difficult because, again, it's not up to Ukraine whether there's going to be a ceasefire in effect. That's down to the Russians. So pushing this conversation of security guarantees towards a ceasefire that may not happen is, again, and shows you the difficult position that Kyiv is currently in. Still, Zelensky on your screen here, still talking. So we're still getting the lines in now as to what the Ukrainian government's position on all of this is. But as I said, look, the top line is Ukraine is still under significant pressure. The Ukrainians are going to be relieved that they've got this intelligence sharing and ammunition being sent to Ukraine again after the White House lifted its block, its suspension of that. But Ukraine is in a very difficult position still, and it is demonstrating to the US that it is willing to make concessions to have a ceasefire. But now it's back to the Russians to see what they do. For the Americans' part, they say they're talking to the Russians. When we find out more, we'll bring you that all right here on TVP World.
Many thanks. And that was Oz Katerji reporting live from Kyiv, Ukraine. I welcome the progress in talks between Ukraine and the United States. We must now redouble our efforts to get a lasting, secure peace, said British Prime Minister Keir Starmer during parliamentary questions in London. The Prime Minister also touched on the subject of kidnapped Ukrainian children, saying it must be a part of a future peace settlement.
It is an absolutely terrible case of abduction and kidnapping. And when we say a lasting, just settlement or peace in Ukraine, it must, of course, involve dealing with this issue. And we are, as he would expect, raising it continually with our allies.
Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk is on his way to Turkey for talks with President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan. Upon departure, Tusk said that discussions with the Turkish leader will focus on how Ankara can increase its participation in Europe's regional security efforts.
We will talk about the role of Poland, the role of Turkey when it comes to stabilizing the region. We will talk about the first round of talks in Saudi Arabia between Ukraine and the United States, the involvement of Poland and Turkey in ensuring peace in the region, ensuring lasting peace on the Russian-Ukrainian border. It is important for Poland, it has already been decided, and I hope that no one in Poland will question it, that Polish soldiers will focus on defending Polish borders, especially those with Russia and Belarus. And from our point of view, it is important for NATO countries to guarantee stability in the region after achieving peace on the Russian-Ukrainian border, and Turkey's role may be key here.
We are doing everything in our power to implement Poland's security strategy, said Polish Defense Minister Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz ahead of a meeting of defense ministers in Paris. Later today, the officials are set to discuss further support for Ukraine.
We are doing everything in our power to implement Poland's security strategy. This is the most important mission ahead of us, hence our diplomatic offensive. The Prime Minister in Turkey, Foreign Minister Sikorski with his Ukrainian counterpart in Warsaw, and I will soon be in Paris with my fellow ministers from France, Italy, Germany and the United Kingdom, Europe's largest players in terms of the size of their armies, defense spending activity and also assistance to Ukraine. We will discuss aid for Ukraine, which must be provided now, but also continue when hopefully the just peace we are striving for finally materializes. We will also discuss investment in Ukraine, investment in the defense industry, European-Ukrainian joint venture companies. It is very important to take advantage of the Ukrainians' experience and tap into their drone expertise, as no other military in Europe has more battlefield experience than them right now. We need that.
The European Union has voted to recognize Poland's East Shield project as a flagship initiative vital for the bloc's security. The project means additional protective measures constructed along the frontier borders of the EU, especially with Russia and Belarus. We're now joined by our correspondent in Strasbourg, Kazimierz Wysiak. Kazimierz, what does this result mean for Poland and other countries in the region?
Good afternoon, Marie. Well, this is really great news for the Polish government, as this is a project that Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk has been working on for months. It's all about protecting the borders of Poland with Russia and Belarus, putting defensive infrastructure, surveillance systems, all of that. And he has been asking the EU to put money on this project because it is ensuring not only the safety of Poland, but also of the European Union. The Polish MEPs here are jubilant at this news, so let's listen to the statement from one of them.
Because of the amendment which was proposed by the Polish delegation within the European People's Party group, we were able to name the East Shield as a flagship project for future common security. This is the first time this name of the initiative of Prime Minister Donald Tusk was implemented into documents which will be presented to the Council, to the Commission and to the Presidency. Yeah, the decision of the European Parliament will have practical consequences, very good for Poland, because this project, which was basically financed only by the Polish government, now becomes the European project. So the Commission has to secure money to invest in this project and to our common security.
So there you go, practical consequences for Poland. We can be expecting more work to be done on the project, but right now we know that this project is considered a flagship initiative by the European Union. So we are expecting to see some additional funds to flow to Poland to ensure the safety and security of not only Poland, but also of the European Union and NATO. This is especially important in light of the fact that, for example, along the border with Belarus, the totalitarian regime of Alexander Lukashenko has been sending waves of illegal migrants to the borders of Poland, forcing them to cross into the country as a way to destabilize the West. There are also spies moving through Russia to Poland. So special protective measures along these borders are something that are vital, not only for Poland's security, but also the security of the entire European Union. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks very much. That was Kazimierz Łysiak joining us live from Strasbourg. Former Romanian Prime Minister Victor Ponta will be one of the candidates in the upcoming presidential elections in Romania. This announcement comes on the heels of the Constitutional Court's decision to bar Călin Georgescu, a current poll leader and a Moscow and Washington favorite, to take part in the election rerun.
On Wednesday, Victor Ponta, former Social Democratic Prime Minister of Romania, officially submitted his candidacy for presidential elections. He appeared in front of the Central Electoral Bureau sporting a red baseball cap with Romania in first place written on it, an apparent nod to Donald Trump's Make America Great Again slogan.
The radical change that the American people are making must also happen in Europe and in Romania. Power must be returned to the people, taken back from systems, organizations and parties that have seized it over the years. I believe that only through this change we can have a future both in Romania and in Europe.
Ponta is a veteran Romanian politician, having served as a prime minister from the Social Democratic Party in the years 2012-2015. Now, however, the Social Democrats are part of the ruling coalition, and according to some experts, Ponta is now positioning himself as an anti-system nationalist candidate.
I will be a president who puts Romania and Romanians first. No one else, no other capital, no other country, no other political leader or organization from outside the country will govern Romania anymore.
Ponta's candidacy comes as the Constitutional Court of Romania on Tuesday upheld the Central Election Authority's decision to bar Călin Georgescu from running in May's rescheduled election. The decision sparked clashes in Bucharest, the country's capital. Georgescu was the sole anti-establishment candidate for the rerun and, ahead of the court's ruling, was leading the polls with close to 40% of support. He was also a surprising winner of the first round of presidential elections, which were eventually annulled due to cited foreign interference on the outcome of the ballot.
And that's all for now at 2 p.m. Thanks for joining us and stay tuned for more on TVP World. Goodbye.